The message was meant for someone else. That single mistake, born from exhaustion and desperation at 3 in the morning, would unravel 2 lives and weave them back together in ways neither could have imagined. Maya's trembling fingers had typed the wrong number, and on the other end, in a penthouse overlooking the glittering city skyline, Alexander Hayes stared at his phone screen with an expression that hadn't crossed his face in years: genuine surprise. The text read simply, "Please, I'm begging you. My daughter needs this surgery. I've tried everything. If there's any humanity left in you, please don't let her die because of money." Below it was a medical report attachment and a photo of a little girl, no more than 7 years old, with bright eyes and a brave smile despite the hospital gown she wore. Alexander should have deleted it. He should have blocked the number and returned to his late-night spreadsheets, to the cold comfort of numbers that made sense in ways people never did. But something about that message, about the rawness of a mother's plea sent into the void of digital space, made him pause. He looked at the photo again. The little girl had drawn a sun on her cast, its rays reaching toward the edge of the frame like hope itself trying to escape. If you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, if you believe that one moment can change everything, please take a second to like this video, leave a comment about a time someone's compassion changed your life, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world, and it helps us bring more stories of hope to people who need them most. Maya hadn't slept in 48 hours. She sat on the floor of her tiny apartment, surrounded by rejection letters from charities, loan applications stamped with bright red, denied, marks, and medical bills that had long ago stopped looking like numbers and started looking like tombstones. Her daughter, Emma, was sleeping in the next room, her breathing labored even with the medication. The tumor pressing against her spine was growing, and the window for surgery was closing with each passing day. The text had been meant for her ex-husband's brother, a man she barely knew but who had once mentioned he had connections in the medical field. She had found what she thought was his number scribbled on an old piece of paper, a desperate last resort after every door had slammed in her face. She had poured her heart into that message, stripped away every ounce of pride, and sent it into the universe like a prayer. When her phone buzzed an hour later, she nearly dropped it. The response was not what she expected. "How much do you need?" 3 words. Simple. Direct. No questions about who she was or why she was asking. Just, "How much do you need?" Maya's hands shook as she typed back the amount the surgeon had quoted, a figure so large it felt obscene to even write down. $250,000 for the surgery, the hospital stay, the aftercare. It might as well have been $250 million for all the possibility she had of obtaining it. The response came quickly. "Send me the hospital information and the surgeon's contact details. I'll take care of it." She stared at the screen until the words blurred. This had to be a cruel joke. People didn't just offer $250,000 to strangers via text message. She typed back with trembling fingers, "Who is this? I think I messaged the wrong number. I'm so sorry to have bothered you." The reply was longer this time. "You did message the wrong number. I'm not who you thought I was. But that doesn't change the fact that your daughter needs help, and I can provide it. The money will be wired to the hospital tomorrow morning. Make sure they have everything ready." Maya collapsed against the wall, silent sobs shaking her entire body. She wanted to believe it. God, she wanted to believe it so badly. But years of disappointment had taught her that miracles didn't happen to people like her, that hope was just another word for eventual heartbreak. But the next morning, her phone rang. It was the hospital. The administrator's voice was confused but excited. The entire cost of Emma's surgery had been paid in full by an anonymous donor. They could schedule the operation for the end of the week. Alexander stood in his office, looking out at the city he had conquered through ruthless business acumen and strategic brilliance. He had built his empire by being smarter, faster, and more merciless than everyone else. His father had taught him that compassion was weakness, that money was the only thing that mattered, and that people would always disappoint you if you gave them the chance. His father had been wrong about a lot of things, Alexander was realizing. Or perhaps Alexander had simply spent so long becoming the man his father wanted him to be that he had forgotten who he actually was underneath all the armor. The decision to pay for the surgery had been impulsive, uncharacteristic, and completely illogical from a business standpoint. But when he had looked at that photo of Emma, something had cracked in the carefully constructed walls around his heart. He had seen his younger sister in that brave smile. His sister, who had died 20 years ago because his father had been too proud to ask for help, too stubborn to admit they were drowning financially before his first business took off. By the time the money came, it was too late. Alexander had made a fortune since then, but he had never been able to spend it on the one thing that mattered. Perhaps this was his chance for some kind of redemption, however small. He didn't expect to hear from Maya again. The transaction was complete, the good deed done, and he could return to his normal life. But a week after the surgery, another message arrived: Emma is recovering well. The doctors say it was a complete success. I don't have words to thank you. You saved my daughter's life. You gave us a future. I will spend the rest of my life trying to pay this forward, to be worthy of the kindness you showed us. Thank you doesn't even begin to cover it, but it's all I have. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Below the message was another photo. Emma in a hospital bed, weak but smiling, holding a piece of paper with words written in a child's unsteady hand: "Thank you for my life." Alexander found himself staring at that photo for a long time. Something warm and unfamiliar was spreading through his chest, something that felt dangerously like happiness. He typed back, "I'm glad she's okay. That's all the thanks I need." But Maya didn't stop there. Over the following weeks, she sent updates. Emma's first steps after the surgery. Emma going home. Emma starting physical therapy. Each message was filled with such genuine joy and gratitude that Alexander found himself actually looking forward to them. These small windows into a world of real human connection that his own life had been missing for far too long. And then Maya did something unexpected. She asked if she could meet him in person, to thank him properly. Alexander's first instinct was to refuse. He had created a wall between himself and the world for good reason. But something made him say yes. They met at a small cafe far from the business district, neutral territory. Maya arrived early, nervous and clutching a small box. When Alexander walked in, wearing jeans and a simple sweater instead of his usual armor of designer suits, she almost didn't recognize him from the photos she had found online. He was younger than she expected, maybe early 40s, with tired eyes that suggested he carried his own invisible weight. They sat across from each other, and for a moment, neither knew what to say. Maya spoke first. "I've thought about this moment every day since Emma's surgery. I've imagined what I would say to you, how I could possibly express what you did for us. But now that you're here, I realize that words are too small for what I feel." She pushed the box across the table. Inside was a hand-painted picture frame, clearly made by a child. The frame held a photo of Emma, healthy and laughing, and inscribed at the bottom were the words, "Heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they answer wrong numbers." Alexander picked it up carefully, as if it might break. His throat felt tight. "I'm not a hero," he said quietly. "I'm just someone who had money and happened to be in the right place at the right time." Maya shook her head. "You had a choice. You could have ignored that message. Most people would have. But you didn't. You chose kindness when you had every reason not to. That makes you a hero in my book, and in Emma's." They talked for hours that day. Alexander found himself sharing things he had never told anyone, about his sister, about the guilt he carried, about how success had brought him everything except the one thing he actually wanted, to feel like his life mattered beyond the numbers in his bank account. Maya shared her own story of struggle, of being a single mother, of nights spent wondering if love alone was enough to keep her daughter alive. In the following months, an unlikely friendship bloomed between them. Alexander started visiting Emma during her recovery, bringing books and puzzles, telling terrible jokes that made her laugh. He taught her chess and helped with her homework, amazed at her resilience and her ability to find joy even in the hardest moments. Maya watched him transform from the stern businessman she had researched online into someone gentler, someone who smiled more easily, someone who seemed to be learning how to be human again. And Alexander watched Maya, inspired by her strength, her refusal to let circumstances break her spirit, her fierce protection of her daughter's happiness above all else. It was Emma who said it first, with the blunt honesty that only children possess, "I wish Alexander could be my dad." She said it casually one evening while they were playing a board game, but the words hung in the air like a challenge to the universe itself. Maya and Alexander's eyes met across the table. Something unspoken passed between them, an acknowledgement of feelings that had been growing quietly, steadily, without either of them quite realizing it until that moment. If this story has touched your heart, if you believe in second chances and the power of compassion to transform lives, please hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs hope today, and let us know in the comments what this story means to you. Your engagement helps us reach more people who need to hear messages of hope and humanity. What started as a wrong message had become the right thing in both their lives. Alexander had spent years building an empire but feeling empty. Maya had spent years surviving but feeling hopeless. Together, they had found something neither had been looking for but both desperately needed. A reason to believe in goodness again, a reminder that connection and compassion mattered more than anything else. The wedding was small, held in the hospital garden where Emma had taken her first steps after surgery. She was the flower girl, walking steadily down the aisle with pride, scattering petals and beaming at the two people who had taught each other how to love again. Alexander had learned that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars but in moments like these, in Emma's laugh, in Maya's smile, in the feeling of being part of something bigger than himself. Maya had learned that asking for help wasn't weakness and that miracles sometimes came disguised as wrong numbers in the middle of desperate nights. As they exchanged vows, Alexander thought about that first message, about how close he had come to deleting it without a second thought. One different choice, one moment of indifference, and none of this would exist. It was terrifying and beautiful how much could hinge on a single decision to care. Before we close this story, if it moved you, if it reminded you of the good that still exists in this world, please take a moment to leave a comment. Tell us, do you believe in second chances? Have you ever experienced an unexpected act of kindness that changed your life? Your stories matter, and sharing them might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. That night, tucked into bed in their new home, Emma asked Maya the question she had asked 100 times before, but this time with a different ending: tell me again how you met Alexander. And Maya smiled, pulling her daughter close, and began the story the way she always did now. Once upon a time, I sent a message to the wrong number. And it turned out to be exactly the right one. Sometimes the universe works in mysterious ways. Sometimes desperation leads to miracles. Sometimes a millionaire and a desperate mother find exactly what they're missing in each other. And sometimes, just sometimes, one wrong message changes absolutely everything.